We just had college football week 12, and it was kind of a crazy weekend. First of all, number 3 ranked Michigan barely survived. They just beat Illinois by the smallest of margins. It required a kick at the last second with 9 seconds left. That's how Michigan kicked their field goal to win. So Michigan stayed undefeated. They won 19-17, but man, it's really hard for me to believe that next week when Michigan plays Ohio State, I just can't put myself in a frame of mind to believe that Michigan really has a legitimate shot to beat Ohio State next weekend. Another team that barely won, number 4 ranked TCU, just barely beat Baylor. They needed a last-second field goal. I don't believe TCU is going to be very competitive if and when they make it into the college football playoff. But I do also want to give them credit. I don't want to hate on TCU. I have watched almost every TCU game this year because they've all been fun and exciting and meaningful. And I have had an absolute blast watching this team and getting to know this team. And, TCU was down in this game 28-20. They got a touchdown with 2 minutes left, but then they failed their 2-point conversion, and it was just a roller coaster because watching, I was rooting for TCU. They're the little engine that could. I don't want to see them win and make the playoff. They're going to lose, but it's still a fun story. And when TCU failed the 2-point conversion to tie the game, I went, oh, man, this game is over. That sucks. And then they stopped Baylor. They forced a punt. And then, shout out to TCU kicker, Griffin Kell. It was 4th down with 17 seconds left in the game, and the clock was running. So the kicking unit had to sprint onto the field, line up and kick a field goal with the clock just ticking down. And they did. Griffin Kell made it. He kicked a 40-yard game-winning field goal. It's a really impressive kick and a big moment. And if you haven't seen the video, go watch it because they run onto the field, get lined up, calm, composed. Griffin Kell kicks the game-winning field goal, and you're like, dude, that is a big-time kick in a really big moment. And I walked away impressed and very, very happy. There was a great game in college football. Whatever the Patriots-Jets game was in the NFL that finished 10-3, this game was the opposite. It was just this USC-UCLA game was a fun, incredible offensive battle. USC beat UCLA 48-45. UCLA's quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, had 6 touchdowns. Unfortunately, he also had 4 turnovers, and it's really hard to win when your quarterback has that many turnovers. But, a lot of people are throwing Caleb Williams' name out there after this game, USC's quarterback. They're throwing his name out as a guy who should get votes for the Heisman. He had over 500 yards against UCLA. Caleb Williams had 3 touchdowns. He threw 2 of them. He ran for 1. He ran for 33 yards. He threw for 470. That's over 500 yards of total offense. And if you want, I would imagine the highlights of this game. I actually watched this game. I would imagine the highlights of this game, USC, UCLA, are just already incredible. If you want, I imagine they're like a 20-minute video on YouTube to watch everything that went down. But if you want something and you didn't watch this game, you want entertainment, and you're on your lunch break, look up the USC-UCLA game because it was scoring, it was fun, it was back and forth, it was exciting, really dramatic. What a great game on Saturday between USC and UCLA. Now, probably the shock of the weekend in college football was that South Carolina really badly beat Tennessee 63-38. And South Carolina quarterback Spencer Rattler was 30 for 37 passing. He had 438 yards and 6 touchdown passes. Spencer Rattler, by the way, has 1 more year of eligibility after this year. So even though he's had a really up and down year, the potential is there. He's got an incredible arm. He's clearly got NFL ability. And I really am hoping that this game against Tennessee is something that Spencer Rattler can build off of for the future and maybe become the quarterback I know he's capable of, which is I think a high-level NFL quarterback. Also, by the way, I just want to say I love Shane Beamer, the South Carolina head coach. I'm happy to see the guy win. His game plan was impressive, and his interview after the game was just fun. He was happy. I really root for him, and I don't know that he's ever going to win the SEC or even be that impressive as a coach, but he's doing the best he can in a really, really tough conference, the SEC, and it's just very, very cool to see Shane Beamer have any level of success in that division. Or conference, I guess is the word. South Carolina, by the way, they led all game. Spencer Rattler made some beautiful throws. I think you also got to give, a shout out to, and really credit to the South Carolina receiving corps. They made a lot of really big catches downfield and were winning one-on-one matchups. So it wasn't just Spencer Rattler, it was this receiving corps in South Carolina doing a great job. And they've, produced a lot of NFL level receivers over the years, and looks like they're going to do it again with this class. Now, Tennessee briefly made it a 4-point game. Tennessee made it 31-35 in the third quarter. They were only down 4, but then later in the fourth quarter, so that's the third quarter, it's a 4-point game. In the fourth quarter, Tennessee's quarterback, Hendon Hooker, actually had a really ugly non-contact knee injury, and we found out Sunday morning he did tear his ACL, so his season is over. And it's very sad for Hendon Hooker because he was a top Heisman candidate. Tennessee is now 9-2. They've got no quarterback, and I just really am sad for Hendon Hooker because he had such an impressive, great year. And I don't know how the NFL views him. He's definitely not going to win the Heisman now because he's not going to play the rest of the year. And it's just very, very sad to see a guy's really impressive, really good year get cut short by an injury the way it did for Hendon Hooker. I'm sorry, but it was a boring game. It was. I'll be quick about it. Oregon beat Utah 20-17. I watched this game for some reason, and I regret it, but you have to suffer with it now too, because I took notes. I watched the whole game. I was really waiting to get something good out of it, and it never really happened. Utah's quarterback, Cam Rising, had 3 interceptions. 2 of them were tipped, but they weren't great. Oregon quarterback, Bo Nix. Here's what's most disappointing. Bo Nix couldn't run around. He was, dealing with an ankle injury, and it was just really unfortunate. Utah made some weird decisions in this game. There was a 4th and 3 on the 11-yard line, and instead of kicking the field goal, Utah went for it and didn't get it. Later, there was a 4th and 2 with 6 minutes left in the game. It's crunch time, and Utah was down 3 points in field goal range, and instead of kick the field goal, they went for it and did not kick the field goal. They got stopped again. Cam Rising, the quarterback, threw a really bad throw to Dalton Kincaid that wasn't caught. It was weird by Utah. And I'm UCLA, USC was so incredible. I thought Oregon, Utah was going to be a similar level game, and it just wasn't. It was just not a great high-level game. It was not a bad game, certainly, and it was dramatic and interesting, but I wanted maybe more of a show, and we did not get that from Utah and Oregon. I hope I've been saying Utah and Oregon the entire time. Now I'm all worried. Did I say UCLA ever? But Utah, Oregon, not the great game I was hoping for. Finally, the last college football game I want to talk about. Georgia beat Kentucky 16-6. And I did not expect Kentucky to win this game at all, but Kentucky actually challenged Georgia more than most teams have. And watching this game, it actually made me think of LSU. LSU is more than likely going to play Georgia in a couple weeks in the SEC title game. And I want to start asking the question now, what if LSU can find a way to beat Georgia in that SEC title game? It would not only screw up all the playoff rankings, because then you think you have no true number 1 and number 4 team now. What's going to happen if Georgia loses? That'd be wild. But also, you would have to acknowledge that would be an incredible first year for Brian Kelly, the new head coach at LSU. To beat Bama and Georgia and win the SEC title all in your first year at LSU, it could happen. It's unlikely. But it's also not impossible that happens. And I want people to be prepared for that reality, because Brian Kelly, in my opinion, is a fabulous head coach. And that's not a new thing for me. I've said that for a while. And it's really cool to see the guy do so well and hopefully continue to succeed in college football in the SEC.